Tonight is a big night for our monster hunting duo. The plans of evil will come together, surrounding our two heroes in a familiar place. So get ready for some horrific twists and turns that you just won't believe, and for one bumpy and blood-soaked ride with tonight's Confronting Evil. A middle-aged woman in cut-off denim shorts, an old blue plaid shirt tied up to reveal a bit of a belly, sat in a recliner, fixing the red bandana that she had tied into her hair. Next to her lay her husband on the couch, beer in hand, resting on his exposed beer gut sticking out from beneath his white tank top. The two of them were watching a show about aliens influencing history, eating up every minute of it as if it were solid fact, when they were startled by a knock at the door. Jethro got up to answer, a bit pissed off about who could be bothering them so late at night, leaving his wife Mary Ann sitting in her chair nearby. The knock came once more, before Jethro made it to turn the knob and open it, grumbling for whoever it was to hold their horses in the process. But when he opened the door, he saw his neighbor's oldest son, and the look of the young man shocked him. The 20-year-old looked like he hadn't slept in days, and his eyes kept trailing off at nothing as Jethro stood there, looking at him.
"Hey, Billy, your mom ain't here right now,"
Jethro told him, referring to his eldest son and Billy's friend. He got no reply, just Billy looking at him oddly, his breathing sounding kind of off.
"Can we help you, sugar?"
asked Mary Ann from her reclined position, looking over at the door. Then, without any provocation, a long, viscous, amoeba-esque shape began to gurgle up out of the gagging throat of the young man, and both Jethro and Mary Ann fled in terror from the thing that had forced its way into their home.
Dude, you are such a bookworm.
Mackenzie began.
Live a little. Get your nose out of that dumb book and really experience life.
Sorry if I don't see getting drunk every other night as living, Kens.
Seth jabbed back at her.
And that dumb book is how we know what we know. Without it, we wouldn't have been able to stop half the things we've gone up against. So no need to thank me.
Whatever. What did Huck say was in that dumb book anyway?
Mackenzie asked, being sure to once again dig in just a bit by calling it a dumb book. Seth sighed at her having to have the last word, and began to explain.
A spell to create a parasitic army.
Parasite? You mean like the thing that ripped out of that guy's stomach? Like you at a vegan buffet?
Yeah, like that. I think this thing might be creating an army.
An army? That seems like a bit of a stretch. Why do you think it's an army?
Because that's what the spell says.
Oh, again with the book.
Mackenzie dug, sparking an argument between the two that was interrupted by the sound of poppy anime music playing on Seth's cell phone, causing Mackenzie to attempt to hold back laughter while her brother quickly answered the call from their uncle.
Hey, Huck. How's everything on the home front?
Seth asked after answering the phone before pausing a moment.
All right, Huck. We'll head on over.
He added before hanging up the phone.
That was Huck. I guess his sister and her husband live a few miles away from us and they're having some problems. He wants us to head over and give them a hand.
Just gonna pretend like we didn't hear J-pop coming out of your phone?
That happens to be a very popular song in Japan, so laugh all you want. Let's get going.
Alright, nerd. So where are we headed?
Mackenzie asked as the Torino sped off down the highway. Sometime later, the two of them arrived at an empty farm outside of town. The door was hanging almost entirely off its hinges, just dangling in the breeze.
Hello? Marianne? Jethro?
Seth called out as he exited the vehicle, but he got no response and feared that maybe they were too late. As Seth approached the door, Mackenzie caught something scurrying in the darkness of the brush near to the house.
I thought I saw something. You check inside. I'll look over here.
Mackenzie said, as she too exited the Torino.
Be careful.
Always.
She replied, getting an eye roll from her brother. The two of them split up, Mackenzie moving around the side of the small farmhouse, and Seth slowly entering to have a look inside. Both of them with flashlights and weapons drawn. Inside, Seth heard some rustling coming from the room around the corner of the door, which appeared to be the living room. There, he found a man and a woman cuddled up on the couch together, eating potato chips and watching TV.
Marianne? Huck called asking us to come check on you guys, and the door was off its hinges. Are you two alright?
He asked them, concerned for their safety.
Oh, no, that? We're sorry. It's just some punk kids, but Jethro scared them off. Ain't that right, honey?
She said.
That's right.
Jethro replied, with an almost forced-looking smile.
Alright. Well, if you want, I could have a look around and...
Seth began, but was quickly interrupted by the both of them, giving an almost simultaneous no.
Are you sure? 'Cause I could just...
He began to offer again, but was once more cut off by them refusing. It was at that moment that Mackenzie came crashing through the window, with some weird-shaped thing clung to her chest. She struggled with it for a moment, allowing Seth to get a better look at the thing. It was a human torso, with a ravenous human head, but the arms and legs were elongated, broken, and sharpened like bones that formed kind of insectoid legs. The thing screeched and screamed, its jaw dislocating and hinging open, with some amoeba-like organism pulsating within the man's throat, attempting to infect Mackenzie with a parasite like its own. Jethro's off smile ticked a bit at the corner of his mouth before his head snapped sideways. His neck began to elongate, his vertebrae cracking and stretching outward. His skin appeared to be veiny and thin over muscle beneath as his neck stretched and wiggled like a tentacle of an octopus. And much like his neck, his arms also extended, his skin becoming taut and thin. The creature then lunged at Seth, but was thwarted by Mackenzie kicking her attacker off of her into the monster that was once Jethro. Marianne then came running from her position by the couch, growling like a wild beast. Her face contorted, her brow line and the structure of her cheekbones became more angular, giving her an almost demonic look as she charged at Seth. Mackenzie acted quickly and pulled her brother outside, shutting the doors swiftly behind them before bolting for the Torino, her brother in tow behind her. As Mackenzie turned the key to start the engine, the three beasts burst through the door and began their advance toward the Torino, but the twins were able to escape the mutilated creatures and peel off down the road toward home.
What the hell were those things?
Seth asked in a shocked demeanor that was unlike him.
That thing's bones were like knives. He had this weird-looking thing in his mouth, and that guy looked like something out of a Raimi movie, dude.
Mackenzie replied, also unsure as to what they were up against.
Weird-looking thing.
Yeah, it was like this weird glob thing that kind of reminded me of...
Mackenzie paused as she realized what it was.
It was the same as that thing that went all Ridley Scott on that guy.
Still think he's not making an army?
Yeah, well, we don't even know who or what he is, so how are we supposed to stop him, huh?
Mackenzie asked, once again ticked off at her brother.
The dumb book will answer that for us.
Seth said, digging just a bit before thanking her for saving his tail.
You're welcome, dweeb.
Ass.
He added, before going quiet for a short while once again.
So, what are we gonna do about those things? We can't just leave them there.
I think they're the least of our worries.
Mackenzie replied, as she looked out into the fields on either side of the road, noticing movement in the darkness, dimly lit by the bright, full moon. Dozens upon dozens of oddly shaped monstrosities all moved, lunging and sprinting, coiling and curling, fumbling and scurrying in the same direction that they were traveling.
Don't tell anyone I told you this, but hit the book, Seth.
There's just one problem. The book is back home with Huck.
Well, looks like we are all headed that way.
Mackenzie replied, speaking of the monsters moving in the direction of their home, both of them secretly wondering if their house was their destination. Mackenzie's phone then went off, a familiar tone from an old zombie movie in a mall, sounding in her pocket. She quickly answered to find that it was her Uncle Huckleberry on the line.
You guys better get back here. Some really freaky-deaky stuff is going on outside.
Huck said with concern, looking out the closed blinds at the group of monstrosities that gathered in mass around the house. Oddly shaped people, mutated into things that should not be, demonic things that stalked the night to find the place that called to them on an instinctual level.
We'll be right there, Huck. You hold on.
Mackenzie slammed on the gas and floored it down the road, where they found that their house was nearly surrounded by monstrosities with torn and elongated flesh, horrendous growths, tentacles, claws and pincers, mandibles and fangs. People had mutated into disturbing and sickening versions of their former selves.
It's a surf and turf buffet of gnarly grossness out there,
Mackenzie said to her brother as they looked on at the sea of beasts that separated them from their house and Huck.
Even thinking about food at a time like this.
Since someone didn't order me anything and I was stuck eating fries because we were short on time, I can't help it. I'm hungry,
Mackenzie replied to her brother with a glare.
Well, after the problem with the burger, I didn't want to take any chances.
Yeah, whatever. So, how do you suggest we get in there?
Mackenzie changed the subject to the more pressing matter at hand.
We could drive the car through over there.
Seth suggested, pointing to an area where there were fewer monstrous creatures. Mackenzie let out an audible gasp, and without a moment's hesitation, she scolded him.
You want me to plow through a bunch of Night of the Living Raimi Carpenters with the Torino? Are you out of your mind?
Well, then what do you suggest?
Maybe there's something in Mom's old bunker that could help us.
There's nothing in there that'll even put a dent in what's here.
Well, I wouldn't say nothing.
What are you...
No! We can't! Are you out of your mind?
Come on, bro. I don't think we have any other options.
Yes, we do. I gave you one.
We aren't driving the Torino through them. No.
Well, we aren't using the belts either. That thing killed Dad, and it nearly killed us too.
Come on. I could just slip it on and...
Mackenzie began, but was interrupted by her brother standing his ground and refusing to go with her plan.
No! You aren't putting on that stupid belt!
Then what should we do, Seth?
Oh crap! Floor it!
Seth commanded, giving Mackenzie no time to object as they had been spotted by a group of demonic mutations. Mackenzie did the only thing she could do. She found the smallest cluster of monstrosities and put the pedal to the metal. The Torino tore through the group of mutants, sending tentacles and body parts every which way, covering the car in blood as it ripped through the stretched and weakened flesh. But still, the sheer amount of beasts before them was no match for the vehicle of that size. The car took quite a beating. Headlights and windows were smashed. dents all down the sides, flat tires, and the worst of it all, the front of the car, crushed inward, causing serious damage that popped open the hood, making it impossible for them to see what was ahead. Not that it mattered, because the Torino was dead in the water, and so were they if they didn't bail out immediately and make a break for it. The two of them ran up to the door to flee from their attackers, but were prevented from entering by locks and barricades that Huck had put into place. Barricades that Huck swiftly removed in order to allow his niece and nephew to gain access to the home, only to instantly push everything back into place behind them as soon as they entered.
What in tarnation of Tartarus is going on out there?
Remember that Parasite Army translation? This is it.
An army? For what? What does he want with us? What did you two do?
Huck yelled.
We existed, Huck. We didn't do anything. We don't know why he has an obsession with us. Now look how they've massacred my girl,
she finished, looking out between the boards over the windows at the wreckage of the Torino. Then, suddenly, everything fell completely silent as the groans and movement ceased outside, causing Seth and Huck to take a place beside Mackenzie so that they could see what the lack of commotion was all about. A man, dressed in a three-piece suit, walked through the crowd, the blood-covered beasts parting like the Red Sea before him. His skin was beginning to turn gray as the flesh over his true form started to rot. His one red eye pierced through the darkness and made him clearly visible to the trio, even at the distance he had come from. The silence was then broken by the sound of a screaming man that was being held and led in by a particularly brutish thing with muscles that split through his skin. The man begged and pleaded with the monsters, hoping for a bit of humanity left in them, but he found none. When the man with one red eye approached the screaming prisoner, the poor soul begged and pleaded with the most human-looking of the bunch, but his begging was once again turned into screams as the man with one red eye raised his hand where a long black claw-like digit extended outward from the wounded hand. He then turned the claw on his own flesh as he sliced the skin of his arms and the sides to allow himself to slip out of his human skin suit. The thing that crawled out of the lifeless sack of flesh was jet black in hue, almost oily in its appearance. An open mouth of jagged, shark-like teeth kind of grinned at the house, knowing it was being watched. The demon's one red eye shot around every which way, trying to catch a glimpse of the three he knew were inside the home. The red-eyed demon then approached the terrified man and grabbed him by the head with one hand, twisting him around in place. The man's screams grew louder as the wretched thing ran a long, knife-like finger down his back, splitting the skin along his spine. The man's body began to twitch and then fell limp, only being held up by the hand around his head as the beast sliced down his spine, severing the spine from his nervous system all the way down his body before finally ripping him open and pulling the majority of his flesh out in one swift motion, having perfected the process of harvesting a new skin suit with untold years of practice. The demon then tossed the fleshy carcass onto the ground before stuffing himself into his new vessel and standing fully upright, his back crunching and cracking inside of the new body as he adjusted to the fit. The middle-aged man with pepper-colored hair and a matching goatee was then gifted with a clean three-piece suit to put on over his mostly naked flesh suit, before the man with one red eye shifted and adjusted his tie and looked outward over his sea of monsters with a smile.
Pardon me. I needed a fresh set of vocal cords to complete the ritual.
The man with one red eye spoke through a smile.
Ritual? What ritual? What is he planning?
Mackenzie asked, looking over to her brother.
I'm on it.
Seth said, grabbing the ancient book off the table and flipping through it, hoping for something to figure out what they were up against and then how to stop it, doing the best he could to speed translate what he was looking at.
We're on it. 2 heads are better than 1.
Huck said, looking over Seth's shoulder to help him read and translate with him. However, there wouldn't be much time to figure out what they were caught up in after the next order from the man with one red eye.
Bring them to me.
It seems that whatever is after the twins, its plan has come to fruition, and the end is nigh. Not even the strength of family may be enough to get them out of this one, but you won't have to wait much longer. Confronting Evil returns with the season finale next month. Social media can be very unpredictable, especially regarding horror content. If this content gets removed, all new content will be simultaneously presented on various websites provided in the description to this video. Make sure to follow me in other digital spaces so that you never miss out on the terror. Also, if you like this video, make sure to leave a comment and hit the like button. It helps the channel a lot. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy what's here, consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you never miss an upload. Writing is a dream of mine, and it's all of you that make that dream come true.